Hi guys, it's Ben here. Welcome back to another Scared Equine video blog. In today's video blog, I'm going to be talking about fear. One of my favorite topics. Not really. But what I wanted to talk about relating to fear is some really powerful insights that I've gained over the years through learning about my own fear and my own experiences. I really hope that this will be able to benefit you as well. But one of the big things that I learned in the last probably 4 or 5 years about fear, which I didn't really understand before, was the difference between a fear that relates to a real threat to your physical well-being and a fear that relates to a threat to a belief system or an emotional trigger of some sort of emotional trauma that's being sitting unconsciously or subconsciously there, that's all of a sudden been brought up by something in your environment. And this is really important, I think, that we understand how to distinguish between these two things. Because it took me quite a while to really understand this and figure this out and notice which fears meant what for me. So when we have a threat to our physical well-being, again, it's our physical body that's at risk. Whether we're doing something risky like walking on the edge of something that has a big drop, or we're standing in a place that where we're in a potential danger, like there might be fast cars going past or something like that. And they're all situations where there's a risk to a true risk to our physical well-being. And so in those situations, fear plays a really important role to help us stay safe, to keep us alive, so we have a body that is in one piece. So fear can certainly be an important intuition for us to listen to in those situations where there is a real threat to our well-being. And this is where you see people that disregard that fear, and they try and act like there's no fear and have this sort of this macho attitude of no fear. And again, this is not what I find to be true, because those sort of people are the people that end up in hospital, the people that end up dead because they have no regard for self-preservation, and that mechanism is inbuilt inside of us for a reason. It's there to keep us physically safe. So now coming back to separating that fear, now looking at the fear that's relating to some sort of emotional trauma or trigger or belief system that's been challenged. This is a different fear altogether. It's a different can of worms, I guess you could call it, because this fear is relating to something that is more about your internal belief system that you have about yourself. It's more about emotions that are attached to certain experiences that you've had in the past that you are maybe not wanting to see, that have come up all of a sudden. And for me, one of the big ones around this was public speaking, like getting up and talking in front of I guess anywhere more than 5 or 6 people was a huge deal for me. And a lot of this for me, when I looked at it, related back to a lot of bullying that I had when I was in primary school and high school, and just being ostracized, and the fear of being ostracized and bullied, because of some of the emotional pain that I experienced because of that. And now that I understand that that's what that is, I see the necessity for emotional courage in that situation. The necessity for me to lean into that fear and to embrace it as it's okay, because it's now is not then. It's not, I'm living in this moment, I'm not back in the past. And so in that regard, that fear is completely, it's still a part of who I am, but I've learned to lean into that fear and to lean into it and to embrace it. And the more I do that, the more I find I get so confident and comfortable speaking in front of people. So I made a point of just spending a lot of time, like going to Toastmasters and getting up and doing speeches at weddings and different things like that. So I got confident with talking in public, and it made such a huge difference to me. And I still feel the vulnerability of that at times, but I know to lean into it. And when I lean forward into that, the discomfort of that, and I embrace that fear, that is, to me, is what courage is all about. It's about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And again, this is what I wanted to talk about here, is just separating those two fears. Fear to your a threat to your physical well-being, that fear is very warranted. Listen to that fear. A fear that's relating to trauma and past experiences, again, listen to it, but understand the difference and learn to have a different response. You know, get curious about what that is, and maybe that's again a sign for me to go into that deeper, so that I can open it up and figure out what's going on and what past experience haven't I worked through and processed. You know, what pain am I hanging on to, what baggage am I carrying that I need to maybe go into and look more deeply into to heal, you know, that if that's necessary. And this is where, you know, if you don't feel you can do that yourself, by all means go and get help. You know, get a counselor or psychologist or somebody you trust that would to take you into that place and help you find some answers within yourself. But again, understand that that fear is relating to a belief system you adopted because of an experience. So leaning into that fear and stepping into the discomfort of that is true courage, and that is where your power will come from. So I hope that helps you. I'll see you in the next video.